Midwest side, those ruthless, narratively driven podcasts you'll never turn right. I'll be in fall. We get so far, dice rolling below in the swamps, never solo, no snow to the dogs of Warcry.
Dogs of Warcry is a podcast from the Mortal Realms focusing on Warcry, a fast-paced, cinematic skirmish game by Games Workshop. You can expect discussions on gameplay, rules, lore, painting, terrain, and events. In episode 8 of Season 5, we're going to be talking about different ways to develop and grow a community around Warcry. We're going to start leagues, run events, and we've been fortunate. We've been doing this podcast since Warcry came out, and we've been fortunate to help grow and develop the Warcry community in the area, and we have lots of people in our local league right now, and it's been a great time. So we're hoping we'll share some tips and tricks, as well as some shout-outs to a lot of the community members out there to help you get your Warcry scene started. My name is Josh, and answering the call with me this week, as you can see, are Vint and Aaron. Eric, how are you guys doing?
I'm real good, man. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing great.
I'm also doing good. We're transitioning from spring into summer, which has, people are on vacations, kids are getting into activities. But I think Warcry is going to go strong through the summer with our community, and I'm excited to talk about this. We've been very fortunate to have a strong community around us, and want to help other people find that as well, or build that.
Yeah.
If not, just.
Yep.
So why don't we get started with the Forge of Mithraxis? What's on your hobby table? Vint, you were saying you've got a lot of things you've been working on.
Yeah, so over the last few weeks, I work at a coffee shop in downtown Madison, so I get to hang out with a lot of college-age folks and, fresh out of college or just in that age group. And one of the things they do a lot of is take pictures. And the group that I work with takes a lot of pictures outside. And one of them gave me the idea that I should take pictures of my models outside, because how cool, like I was talking about a grass effect, and they're like, why don't you just put it in the grass? What if you put it on the beach? Or what if you put it in a tree? And I was like, this is brilliant. So I've been going through and taking pictures of various models all over the city of Madison, and I'll probably be posting some of those soon. I want to clean some up and make sure they look cool, and that there's not some random stranger hanging out behind my model. But it's just been neat, and if it seems different, right? Because our hobby is mostly played indoors. You don't wind blowing your models over, or a bird snatching them in the middle of a turn or whatever it is. But having your models setting a base into sand or into whatever it's based like looks really cool. Being able to set up, one of my Jade Obelisk fighters in a tree, like he's going to jump on top of my Mutalith Vortex Beast, looks cool. And you can do super neat stuff with like twigs and grass, and it makes the models really come to life. So the last couple of weeks I've just been walking around taking pictures of random models on everything from park benches and, like I said, the by the beach or in the grass, all the way up to like parking garages where they're planed out so it looks like they're just levitating and looking at the Capitol building.
Now, how big of a board do we need to play on to accommodate the bench and the tree on your base?
Quite big, yes.
Where in the world is Ungor?
They're everywhere.
Or you take a picture of from a real low angle, so it looks like your Ungor is having a beach party with people in the background.
Oh yeah. One of them was of a Marine who had his hand out, right? And it looked like he was holding the Capitol in his hand. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. I think we need proof of that one. Josh, what's been on your table, or what you been up to?
I did a little bit. I have the 2 Blood Hunt box sets. One. I got the terrain from our GW sponsored box, and then I got my own. So I've been working on getting those set up so we can use them to test out some siege battles over the summer.
Nice.
That's been taking the bulk of my hobby.
So you've been under siege. You've been blockaded in trying to get those done, huh?
Been sniffing the glue.
Not a bad way to spend the time. Very cool. Anything else been on your table?
No, that's been it mostly. Getting stuff done outside, hanging outside with the family and stuff as well with the nice weather. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's been good.
cool. I have been working on Quester Soulsworn. I want to be cool like some of the YouTube creators that we were going to talk about later this episode, and I'm trying to make a video about my warband and kind of like where we've seen Night Questers throughout the Games Workshop, the Age of Sigmar properties, all the way back at Silver Tower, etc., and then talk through what my narrative is going to be for these guys. But I've got to record the me part, so I've still got to do a little work on that. We'll see if it ever sees the light of day, but that's what I've been working on, painting up those models so that I can tell cool stories and get some video of them, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
man, it sounds like we've all been productive in different ways. More photography, and getting stuff on video, and then painting and stuff. So that's pretty great. All right, I think that's everything for the Forge.
Excellent. Well, with that, we can move on to the path to glory. Talk about our games and the battles we've had, the warbands we've been playing, and Vint, let's start with you again.
So we were speaking of the coffee shop. I had a last game I'll probably play with somebody for a very long time, and a first game I've played with somebody for a very long time. I played a game with one of my coworkers. We would play after hours at my work at the coffee shop, and he plays Stormcast Eternals, and we've been friends for 12 years or so, and he just got promoted to a new job. So we rang in his last night by playing a quick game at the store, and that was a lot of fun. It's wild because we've always used coffee cups and, the weirdest coffee-themed terrain you could think of, and it worked out pretty good, but it's always just kind of funny to see these, Golden Stormcast Eternals hunting down Ungors off the top of a 16-ounce coffee cup. But it was really cool, and one of the things, right, in keeping with community, he's been a friend for a long time. I don't think he has any other interest in Warhammer other than that he gets to spend time with people, and that's such a big part of why Warhammer is cool. And I'm sure it won't be the last game I play with him, but it will be for a while with his new job kind of taking him far and away, and then it's going to be taking him to a place where we probably won't be both playing at each other's workplaces after hours. And then one of my friends I hadn't seen I think in 6 or 7 years, came up and we played a game of Dispossessed versus Ungors, and the Dispossessed cut my Ungors to pieces, and there was beef jerky aplenty. However, it was really good to get to play a game with him and his Dispossessed. And it was the first game was a teaching game, though Craig knows his stuff pretty well, Craig Spencer, my buddy from Seattle, and childhood friends. He got into Warhammer through Total War, and it took off. So I know I made his Book of Grudges with at least a couple characters the second game, but the first one was very much a lot of pulled beef, if you will. But
Your
yeah,
games
it's just
make
so
me hungry.
impactful, right? Like, you're right. If you'd have had the food too, it was
Nice.
pretty good. But they're just such a big part of the community, right? I know that when Craig Spencer goes back, he's gonna go play with his buddies, right? He's already teaching his friends, and even if it's a slightly different game, he knows what sportsmanship and knows what fun looks like and how the games work and a little bit smoother mechanics with the dice. So he can take that with him when he goes back. And he knows that the community is not just him and his two buddies he plays there, but now he's looking at going out and meeting people. So if you have friends, if we have listeners in Seattle, hit us up, let me know, and I'll send one of my friends to come play you guys. Yeah. But just a super cool part of the hobby, and super fun to play first and last games with people always.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I had a couple of weeks off of our league because of kids, sports activities, etc. But I did manage to get, I think, my 12th game with the Untamed Beasts to wrap up my league season. I managed, I think, maybe it was 13, 6 out of 13 wins, so about a 50-50. But coming in with who did I play last? I think I played against Ben with his Soulbound. I don't for the life of me. I think I lost it. but not by much. It was a slaughter fest. We all, a lot of stuff died. And it came down, we were playing, you know what it was. I didn't have a ton of time. The store was closing, and so we played one where it was sort of a King of the Hill on top of the new Ziggurat. And had I wanted to like hunker down, and I could have I had everything on top, deployed on top of it, so I could have shut him out. But I opened up a little bit of space, and one of his guys came in and got my key piece. Ended the game pretty quick, but it was a fun season to have the Untamed Beast back out. It was great getting the Fulmaraid Crusher on the table, which I hadn't since I picked it up in 2019, 2020. And so it was a really fulfilling league season, and a good kind of cap off into the summer. So we've got another league starting up here next week. Probably as of recording this, it'll have already started, and that will take us through the end of the summer, and that will give us a whole year of our league since Warcry 2.0 started, and that feels really good. We've got a strong and growing group. So that's been my tabletop just most recently, but it's been a lot of fun with all of our crew.
Yeah, no, I wasn't able to go last week, but the week before I got in a couple of really good games. Played one with Ben and his Soul Blight, and managed to eke out a win, just barely. Had to get the cursed relic away, and I lost a lot of models there, but managed to escape with it. And then my second game was against Mike and his uber beefed up Claws of Karanak, and he had this Varangard ally, and his leader has souped up all kinds of good stuff. So he just tore me a new one. So, but it was still a really fun game, and it was really close, neck and neck towards the end. Though he kept slaughtering my guys, I was like, "Yep, he's going to get these treasures, but I'm going to make him work for it."
Butt whooping with a smile,
tossing him, running, toss him, running.
Very cool, very cool, awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. A lot of fun.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean,
I
I don't think the three of us have been able to be at a league night all at the same time for a few weeks. So it's great to hear that you've all been still getting games in. And Vint, you are always evangelizing. Doesn't surprise. I'm surprised that you're not asking people who come in for coffee if they want a quick game.
So funny story. One of the nights. I think it was like when you were on a break in between or something, but one of the guys that was there was like, "Hey, you're that guy from the coffee shop. You told me to come here."
That's awesome.
Yep. He was like, "I didn't know what kind of Warhammer you guys were playing. I don't think I have anything for that, but I should pick it up." I was like, "Yes, you should."
Yep.
And then he came in this weekend, and I was like, "Did you pick it up?"
All right.
We can help.
Nice. Decaf in a skirmish game.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to go to the Circle of Paint now.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
There were some cool models, I think. Yeah.
It's good to know you're working on your photography, though.
Brutal.
Oh,
I know. I took some, and I was like, maybe I'll let Eric do it and see if it's better. Yeah, it's brighter. Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, that's the pain. That's the pain part.
Although he did break my model.
I did. And if you don't,
I didn't know there was foul play involved.
if you don't behave, I've still got it. So.
But no, exactly.
More like sayonara.
Yeah.
But yeah, listeners, we all appreciate all of you checking out the models and voting. And, you are all very impressed with Eric's conversion, and his Cogritus ran away with it. Fit and I got lots of good votes, too. Lots of good comments. A lot of people like the tentacle colors and other things like that. But Eric definitely, just based on the theme and the uniqueness of the model, people loved it. So good job, man.
Yeah. So
huge shout out to the two people who voted for me. You're real ones. You're my favorites.
I think you're looking at the wrong polls. There is some other polls where you got more. But
that's excellent.
But no.
How does it feel to get your first Circle of Paint challenge win?
Season 5, finally. Oh man, no, it's good. It's good. I think what was it? First season we did Warband. Second season we did
Vanguard.
Vanguard first season.
Yeah. Paven won that one.
And then we've been think you and him had been battling it out after that. So I've got my first one. I'm proud of it. It was a fun one. That monster's a pretty good one to win on. And it let my conversion work and my building work shine over my detailed paint work. So you have to zoom out. You can't look at the details too much.
It captures the imagination.
But yeah, no, it was good. So thank you for everybody who voted. Thank you for everybody who had kind things to say about all of ours. It's a fun tradition that we've had every season, and I'm looking forward to next season to see what we want to do. But that's for later. We don't have to talk about next season yet. This is our wrap up of season 5. So thank you guys for participating and pushing and motivating me to keep working on that. I hope you guys felt as motivated to keep pushing on yours.
So this just proves the theme that whoever finishes last wins.
It's probably because it gets talked about enough, and there's that anticipation building.
Maybe.
Right? So maybe we should just all skip it until we're all ready to end.
Please silence.
Oh no.
Well, I was super nervous for my first time doing it. I was like, man, these guys are going to have it done in 2 weeks flat. I better get cranking on this thing.
I'm sorry.
And then sure enough.
If I ever gave you the illusion that speed was... Well, I guess there's some things I can do fast, but that was not one of them. Cool. Well, are you guys ready to get into our victory condition?
One real quick.
Yes.
So you keep moving out of the picture. So I don't know if you want to adjust your camera or your seating so that you're more in the picture, if it's possible.
Yeah, it may not matter in the end, because on one screen it's all the full width of the picture. Right now, you're probably looking at just our chat. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to end up, but yeah, I'll try and stay closer to the middle. I tend to sometimes.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I didn't know if this is the only thing we were going to see. In which case, you're half in and out. But you can probably see more than I can.
No, it's all good. We'll see how it ends up, But no, thank you. I'll try and stay middle. It'll be easier anyway. All right, the victory condition. In this episode, we're going to talk about community, and we're going to talk about it in 2 ways. 2 ways. 1, 2. We're going to talk about it in terms of the online Warcry community that's built up, especially over this past season. Certainly, a lot of them have been around since the first season, but with all this kind of taking that hiatus with the pandemic, and season 2's really been that kind of coming back to the party. And we've had an explosion of people in our community online between YouTube and websites and our different social platforms, etc. So we're going to start with talking about the community online as a place to plug in and connect. If you're kind of alone where you're at, that's a place to build community and start creating connection. And then 2, we're going to talk about how, if you're interested in having a in-person community that you build in your area, how could you go about first building that for yourself, and then kind of growing it and kind of building on it so that you can be creating a healthy gaming community where you're at. So that's our 2 parts. We're going to try and cover both of those things in the rest of this couple hours together. If there's anything we've missed, we've tried to be as thorough as we can. If there's anything we missed, please let us know, and we will continue to add that and shout those things out in the coming episodes, etc. So, without further ado, why don't we start with the online community that has sprung up or that has strengthened over this last year. Vint, you want to guide us through this online?
Yeah, we're going to start it off with some tools for reference and list building. Gaming is fun. Know your rules. Warcry Stats Hammer. It's at warcry-statshammer.herokuapp.com.
Yeah.
It's a tool for calculating and comparing damage outputs for Warhammer Warcry fighters. So if you're ever curious of how does my Cabalite work against everything else, this is the tool to use. And it saves you making an Excel spreadsheet and trying to share it with your friends. I don't know anybody who would do something so crazy. Another good one is warcrier.net. It's warcrier.net.com. Just not .com. Rules compilation including all warbands, Bladeborn, and Bespoke. And that's pretty cool. Card Creator. If you look it up, it's barryshepard.github.io /warcry-card-creator/ again. For all your bespoke reference card needs. These are nice. It's just nice to have the cards, especially when you've been using, when you set up next to somebody else on a Warcry table, and you're pulling out giant sheets of paper that have 6 different sizes from, screenshots, etc. It's just nice to have the little cards sometimes, and this helps with that a lot.
I do this. I use this one a lot for custom warbands. If I'm creating something a little unique, and I want to use a stat block from, use the existing fighter card, and I enter in it manually, but I want to put in a custom photo. This is a really good site for doing that.
Yeah, Mission Shuffler is the next one we're going to hit on. It is the Warcry at Zucker, ZUCKER, quick random mission generation. From what I've been saying on the podcast for the last year or so, I play in random places. And sometimes it's really just as simple as, hey man, you've ever tried Warhammer before? And they're like, I haven't, but I'd like to. And then we do the random mission generation, because otherwise it's just random pick around stuff. And it's helpful.
Someone just showed this one to me a couple weeks ago at League, and it was amazing. Like, it's great. Because sometimes I bring the wrong cards for the wrong terrain, or, blah, blah, blah. Like, this gives you access to every single box set, and they're really, you can flip them as you're going. Like, it has a really cool interface. So I definitely recommend this. I'd almost take this. I might use this full time moving forward.
Yeah. Fighter Card Repository. This one I'm not going to read you the.
It's a Google Doc.
The website for. It's a Google Doc, and it's fantastic. However, we'll post it somewhere.
So real quick, if any of the URLs, like, it's great to grab the URL or hear it so you can quick maybe do a Google search. We'll have these all on a blog post at Mortal Realms, themortalrealms.com in the blog under our podcast, Dogs Warcry. This episode will have the whole kind of show notes there.
Yep, and you can also find it pinned in the official Warcry Discord, Warcry Creator Content channel. So if you visit other places, it'll work.
Awesome.
Sweet. All right, now YouTube for the YouTubers. The YouTubes for tactics, product reviews, list building, tournament, and meta commentary. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want people to keep making great content. For real, this means a lot to everybody on here. We get to talk to a lot of these people in the flesh because, well, community is everything, and Warcry's got it. So, make sure you're going, and if you're watching the content, give it a like, give it a subscribe, hit the real subscribe button so you get notified about all their cool stuff as it comes out. I know I subscribe to over half of these at least, if not almost all of them, just because their content is great. We are spoiled for choice in this hobby.
Just quick disclaimer, these are in no particular order of ranking or importance or like one's better than another. This is just how we got them down on the page, just in case you're listening and are feeling slighted by being at the bottom. If you're at the bottom, you're just as good as the one at the top. I'm just saying.
Why does it say mumble through the salty sea? Who is that guy?
I think we can skip that one.
Anyway, yeah, we skipped that one. Okay. No. So Dan Herrera at the Salty Sea, we're gonna kick it off there. He's great. We know him personally. We run into him at events. We go to each other's events. We're a hop, skip, and a jump away. So we see each other often enough. So it's always good to go to the Salty Sea and check out what Dan's saying over there. We have Off Meta Musings, and if you haven't checked them out, their content's really good, and I just enjoy their commentary in general. They have a pretty cool way of looking at things. The Dayton Warcry Club. Every time I listen to those guys, it feels like there's just that one thing that I've been missing. They're like the missing puzzle piece. But just like all the other folks that I've listed so far, they're going to come in with their own cool takes, and they're going to have a lot of cool data that they use when they go through their own stuff and through their club games. One of these days, if I have like a long enough time to get out to go see them, I want to see one of their events, because I imagine they run super smooth just listening to the way they talk to them. Optimal Game State. I haven't gotten to partake in some of their content. Have you fellas?
I've not yet. Nope.
But I know that I've heard them recommended by a couple of guys that we play with that have said that they do a very good job. So right after this video, we'll be clicking on them. Hobby Jackal. They do some really neat stuff. I think I've seen a few of their videos. It's been a minute since I've had a ton of time to catch up with my YouTubers, but I know I've subscribed to their stuff too. Tabletop and Beyond. Have you guys checked those guys out?
Yeah, they do. They kind of mix around to a few different things. So they do Warcry 1 out of 4 times, 1 out of 3 times. And they'll often have, I think, Dayton Warcry Club and Salty Sea on. And they'll be talking about stats and spreadsheets and all that kind of cool stuff. Been talking to them as well about potentially, maybe we'll be on an episode in the future. So, yeah, so keep your ears and eyes peeled for that.
Nice.
War Hams on Toast.
I mean, it sounds tasty. Again.
Right? Again, this hobby, I feel like it really lends itself to eat more. I know I've watched a couple of their videos. It's just been a minute. I liked a couple of their takes on one of the earlier warbands. I think it was when I was looking into the Unmade or the Corvus Cabal. One of their episodes, they talk about some of the early warbands, and that they had some really good takes on it that I used when I was building those lists for some fun games. So thanks for the tips, guys. I liked them. And then Cinderfall Gaming, another one that I know I like and subscribe to. I just like how they sound, really. They provide a lot of the same content as all of these people. Like we all, Warcry is an awesome game, but it is only in its 2nd edition, and there's lots of cool feels that come with Warcry. Yeah. So I just like they're entertaining to me, and they're fun.
I think that's a Australian-based podcast, and I know they have a Discord channel. They also do a lot in Soulbound, the role-playing game in the AOS setting. So, yeah, great content. Moving on.
All right, we got some blogs for those of you who like to read the written word of Warcry. So it's more of like word cry, I think. Off Meta Musings have a blog that's outstanding. Overthinking Warcry also has a blog that's probably outstanding. And Optimal Game State, again, coming in hot with a blog. I didn't know they had a blog, so maybe this has got to be one I have to check out. They have a blog too.
Yeah. Overthinking may have a YouTube channel. For some reason that seems familiar, but maybe I'm just overthinking it.
Yeah. Well, and I think I've heard that seen it. I think I've heard about it on maybe Dayton's Warcry show. There's a podcast that could potentially be on YouTube at some point called The Dogs of Warcry. If you're hanging out listening to us right now, it'd be really cool if we ended up on YouTube. But we're working on it. This is our first time recording where we can see each other the whole time, and
it's weird, right?
It's
unnerving.
it's not bad. I realized that the sun went down behind me, so now you can see all the reflections in the world in my room.
Vint also chose a low camera angle to appear taller.
Oh yeah, because I'm like 6'5" in real life. For anybody who hasn't met me, at least 6'5", maybe 6'6".
Yeah.
But that's when I'm only wearing the foot tall stilts. So.
He gives good hugs.
I give good hugs. It's pretty great. Okay. Tools for content creators and others who might be interested in such things.
Well, here's a quick question. there aren't other podcasts on this list. I'm sure there might be some of these that, I mean, if some of these people are creating video content, you should think about making it into podcast content. But my question to you, and maybe you, listener, are we falling behind? Is it because everyone's like, nah, there's no future in podcasting, so they're all going to YouTube and blog posts, or have we intimidated everybody by doing podcasting so extremely well, so professional, so clean, so clear that everyone's like, we can't step to that. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, they just can't get rid of us. We've been here since the beginning, right?
Yeah,
we've got history.
Yeah. So, just question for everybody out there: Are we making an unfriendly, toxic environment in the podcast space that makes nobody else want to join us? So, just let us know at mortalrealms at gmail.com. All right. Sorry, I just wanted to ask that question.
All right. Off-meta musings, again, showing up in the winner's circle down here. Fighter and ability data with a focus on community-audited correctness. And then there's Overthinking Warcry, as well as a Cursling website that I think, Eric, have you used that one? Or is that Josh?
I have not used the Cursling.
So this is sort of like stuff that's been collected in one place so that other people can kind of work off of it, or you create video content or other kinds of content with strong reference material. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so like off-meta musings, they do a lot of, similar to Salty Sea, they do a lot of like spreadsheet analysis of things. So I think their fighter and ability data is kind of gives you insight into those things if you wanted to use that in a video.
Sweet.
Anything else you want to say about the community or kind of your experience? How has it been having this community explode online for you guys? I guess I'll quick shout out as another one. If you are on social media platforms, right? There are a couple of strong Facebook groups for Warcry. I think two of them in particular, both called Warcry. I don't know, Josh, if you know how to differentiate between the two.
Well, one started in the past. There was an original one, and then something happened there with the person who kind of set it up. So then there's actually Warhammer Warcry Facebook group. That's the only real active one.
Okay, so there's a more active one and a more historic one. So a couple ones to jump on. There's a Warcry Reddit group. So if you want to find people just chatting about Reddit, building lists, and subredditing the heck out of it. And then there is obviously our Discord channel has some Warcry conversation. If you want to join us at themortalrealms.com/Discord. We have both. We have a local chat, but we have a global chat where we talk to people, and it's pretty active. We're sharing stuff. We're talking stuff all the time. And then there is how do you identify the larger Warcry Discord platform or server? Does it have a different designation?
Nope, it's just Warcry Discord.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to connect with the most Warcry players, maybe on the globe, I feel like that has the largest number of people just talking about Warcry all the time, every day, constantly. List building, rules questions,
so many
lore.
channels.
Yeah, there's always something going on, and it's busy every day. So if you don't want to ever work again, just talk Warcry all the time. That Discord channel is a place to look at as well. If there are other ways that you guys are connecting with Warcry, let us know. You might have your own Slack channels. You might have your own Facebook groups, etc. If it's something that you want to make public, let us know, and we'll connect it into this list in the future. I guess just how has this community shaped kind of your Warcry experience as you're painting, as you're hobbying, as you're building community? What is this slate of content creators meant for you guys personally?
It's been great. I mean, I think there's a lot of really interesting, as Vince said, a lot of interesting perspectives and discussions around, which models are good for certain warbands, what strategies, and even, just on the hobby side of thing, painting and conversions, sharing about tournament stats and what warbands are brought. It's been interesting to have that and to also have it in audio format as well as video format. Get a variety of mediums for those people who like one versus the other. So it's been really nice to see it grow so much this past year.
Yeah, I think for us it's been really good to see in the last year how it's grown. I think it's been really cool to see. I didn't know about the Salty Sea before I started on this podcast, and then it started off with Josh going, "Hey, this guy from the Salty Sea, you should know him, right? He's a podcaster," and I'm like, "No, I don't know anything about him." And then I met Dan like that day and then was on his podcast. So, and from then it was super cool to see him and like converse with him. And I listen to his videos still and watch them whenever they're launched. And it's just cool to see that. And then see like even there, through going to his events, right? I've been able to connect with the people that were there. And the cool sportsmen that are everywhere. I think one of the biggest things for me, and this is through podcasts, and forgive me, I forget his name, the gentleman that traveled up from Dallas or Arizona.
Chris.
Paul?
Oh, no.
Chris. So Chris heard our podcast and showed up at an event. He heard Salty Seas podcast and showed up at an event. This guy just drives around all over. He's decided this was going to be his game this year. So he listened to the podcasts, and he flies all over the states, and he goes to random Warcry stuff, and man, I couldn't be more envious of some of the things,
Yeah.
the people he's gotten to see
You
him
think
play.
Chris would adopt us?
I think he would. I think he would.
Okay.
If we asked real nicely. But, like, there, right? Like, that is what the community is capable of. And it's not just the Warcry. It's just cool to see it happening, right? When I think of some of the Big Hammer stuff, I know I have friends that travel all over the states to go do that. But that we're starting to have people do it solely because of our online presence is a pretty big deal. So we should celebrate that as a community, not just us or Salty Sea or Dayton.
Yeah.
All of us, it's just a really cool thing.
Yeah,
And kind of unique.
I think it's definitely been new since 1.0. And 1.0, it took a little bit for Warcry, I think, to become more public or become more online. And I love being able to listen to stuff as I'm hobbying and thinking about how I want to build stuff. I love seeing or hearing the different takes. The people are, something new comes out, you first glance at all their war scrolls, they're the fighter cards and the abilities, and everyone's like, oh, that one's the hot thing, or that's the hot thing, and then you play it and see if that's the case, right? So it's just a healthy amount of like energy and excitement around every release. And that really helps. I mean, certainly that helps Games Workshop sell more stuff, but it helps us build more community. It helps us find more people that are interested and win more people into playing miniature games, because Warcry is already a very easy game to get into. But then on top of that, having so much energy and excitement around it just continues to kind of pull people in. And that's what we want. We want more people playing it globally so that more people play it locally, right? And it's inspiring. I think seeing other people creating content and types of content makes me want to create more videos. It makes me want to create other content, and so it's nice to have that energy, that to bounce off of. I will say that like it has been interesting being a new community with that in that regard, because I remember going on one of Salty Seas on one of Dan's videos, and I made a comment, and my comment was a little it was a little defensive and it was a little challenging to something he said. But then I was like, oh crap, this is the internet. That felt too public. Like, we're used to kind of small Discord community, like not that public, not that outward, but like putting something on a public video, like that's a little bit different, right? And content creators have run into different topics where it could be, there could be some controversy around it. So that's kind of a new growing pain for our community as well, is being a little bit bigger, having a bit more influence on kind of how people perceive each other, and still kind of having that it's a small world kind of kind of feel. So it's definitely had I think been really cool for this season and had an impact on the fun of the game for sure. I mean, we talk about the videos, like when new videos come out, we talk about them at game nights, right? We're talking about them with new players as they're coming in and they want to play a certain faction. We say, oh, you should go check out, Off Meta Musing's video on this or Dan's video on that. We use it all the time as a reference for new players. So I think it's hugely valuable. So thank you for everybody who's creating content out there around Warcry. It's a great company to be with. So,
Agreed.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about the online community, and for a lot of people, this is where their first foray into Warcry is. Partially because a lot of people are online, not first, but they're online when they get introduced to new things, right? We find that out through social media, through other groups we're in, and so we get introduced to it, and we might go down the rabbit hole and find a Discord group or a YouTube channel. When we started, partially because the Mortal Realms Network is a podcast first group, when Warcry came out, we said, let's create Warcry content. And then quickly after that, though, once we kind of had the groove there, we recognized the importance of going local. And Vint was actually the manager we've talked about this before, manager at a local Warhammer store, and pulled Josh and I in and Paven to start, running League. And man, I gotta say, when we started looking at doing League this past year, I wasn't sure how successful we were going to be because we didn't have you in a store, with like pumping Warcry into people's veins, like we did in 2019. So the question was were we going to get what we needed out of it? And so what we want, but once you move from offline, right, you got your offline community, but then you want to play games. And when you want to play games, you need in-person community. You need local community. And all the time we're on the Discord, our channel, and we see people jumping in saying, I love Warcry. I haven't gotten a game yet. I'm trying to get my friends into it. Or I'm kind of in a place where not only a lot of people play this game, I'm trying to find somebody, is anybody in this area? And so people are looking for local community around this. So we thought we would take a minute. We've done this before. We've done this episode a couple of years ago, maybe season 2. But it's a new year. It is post-COVID. There are a lot more tools at our disposal. There's a bigger online set of resources. So let's talk about how we build community, how you, the listener, could build community where you're at, and how kind of the path we would recommend taking to get started and then to grow it. I've already talked a lot about this because I'm super passionate about it, because I feel like, we decided to do this episode. I sort of went down a rabbit hole of kind of putting an outline together. But let's start with the beginning. And what we've done every time is starting with a core group of players and committing to a set time and place. Josh or Vint, how important is that first step to getting the ball rolling?
Josh, how many games did we play where it was like, hey, I hope somebody shows up to this Thursday night? Like,
Right. Yeah.
there were a lot. There were a lot of games where it was just me and Josh playing Warcry back and forth until somebody else showed up. And, it took time, and we picked it up off the ground slowly. And COVID hit our community very hard for games. And so we went from 22 people with a line at each table at one point to, me and Josh looking at each other like, what'd you bring today?
Exactly.
Can I beat you with whatever I brought today, Josh? The answer was not yes. But yeah, we played a ton of games like that. But you know what? Anytime somebody came in for Warcry, they came and they saw we were there. And, it's the Field of Dreams mentality. If you build it, they will come.
Let me ask you guys, though, so Josh, Vint, the three of us in some shape or form have had each other to play off of. And, like, hey, we've been sort of committed to building that. What about the person who needs to find that one other, right? Who needs to find their number two? What were some things that that you guys have seen, or how have you gone about finding that number two in this or in other things? How do you advice for finding number two?
That's tricky. Depends on the circumstances. But I found, whenever you go someplace, if you're at the game store, say at the Warhammer store or Mox or whatever game store, you sit down, you're doing your hobby, you're painting, you're building it. People get interested. They come around, they ask questions, and then that's kind of where you can kick it off. Or if they play other skirmish games and you see, or if they've got some sort of background, you can usually kind of start talking about hobbies and interests, and then you can broach the question, oh, hey, I'll try yours, you want to try my game, and that kind of thing would work too.
For me, it's a lot of, hey, friend of mine, what are we doing tonight? Oh, I don't have any plans. Cool, I brought models, you're playing Warcry. Hey, that's a cool shirt you got on. Awesome, you want to play Warhammer? Because it's a Skaven shirt today.
Non-sequitur.
You find your +1 by sometimes just being like, and tonight we're playing Warcry.
Yeah.
And sip your red wine and laugh maniacally into the night as they get into a new hobby. But realistically, like, when you have friends and you want to be interested in what they do, right? It's just basic friendship. I care what Josh is into. I care what Eric's is into. I care what Davey Calkins is into. All of our friends, all of our people that we podcast with, all of our people in our community. And I get to see my friends, and that's one of the best reasons to do any community. I don't care if it's Airsoft. I don't care if it's, a community of people who like to get together and sing Harry Potter songs. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
You do the thing that your friends are interested in. So bring something to that table, right? Like, I'm interested in this thing. And if you don't have an interest, cool. Want to share mine?
Yeah.
Like, let's do that together.
Yep. I think, two things in there. One, be persistent. Like tell people that you love this game and you want to play it, and be persistent. Like, not be a belligerent or an a-hole about it.
Right.
But, be persistent. Like, but then you also point, maybe sometimes you need to give and participate in something that somebody else likes in order to get sort of, get them to try it. And I think that there's that initial thing of learning to do demos for your friends, right? Learning to play a game with your friends and showing them that experience. I recently was invited with the What the Hex crew to play a game of Underworlds with the new set that's coming out. What was I going to say? I stopped over. I went, met them. They set the place and time. I joined them there. They had a cappuccino ready. So I had a nice warm cappuccino to get me started. They do kind of get together and they have tacos. So they had like food prepared. Like, if you have food prepared, right? So if you want to get some people, bribe people to get started with you, right?
Right.
Offer to buy a pizza or something like that. Like, and then I had another friend who picked up some pickleball paddles and balls, and he invited me to go play pickleball with him. And then he invited me again to go play pickleball with him. Now he and I have been playing, some time passed, and he's like, hey, it's going to be nice out pretty soon. Do you want to schedule an ongoing time to play pickleball? And I said, sure. And now we're playing pickleball all the time. And we finally told other people about it. And we're maybe getting some interest now. So I might have another club that I'm joining. But
Perfect.
That leads me. So the other kinds of things I might say too is partner with a local store. Let them know, hey, you're trying to start something with Warcry. Maybe the store owner wants to play with you, or somebody at the store, or one of the employees really likes the game, and they could be one of the starters. Vint, you were that. I mean, you were trying to build Warcry community for Games Workshop at our local store. But you genuinely wanted to build community, and we wanted to build it too. So it was a great partnership for us. So a lot of ways to kind of get started. It may take, giving some part of your firstborn child in exchange for golden thread or a golden friendship, something like that. But just getting
Chaos
started
approves.
can be hard, but there's a couple of ways to go about it, right?
One of the big things you mentioned, the LGS thing. No matter what, right? Like, because nobody can sit at a game store and paint all day, and your friends do have lives, so and not all of them will be down. Even if you're like, I'll supply everything you need to play. Sometimes you're still gonna get a no. Sometimes you'll get a no indefinitely. And that happens, right? They're still your friends. Just, make sure you don't show up at their bar mitzvah. That's how it goes. But
Start
the
icing
big thing
people.
is having a positive and welcoming liaison that will back your play and your hobby and your league and rep it for themselves and for you. We are very lucky with the person we are working with right now, with Darius at Mox. He is... What was that?
I thought you were talking about
It's going
me.
Oh, and Eric. Eric is great all the time. Fantastic. Scion of the hobby, really. He's got like 90% more votes than me and Josh together.
One time.
One time. That's 1 for me, buddy.
I've been there.
You can't do it too.
You just got to wait 4 more seasons.
That's all.
Comeback story.
I'll be a ripe 43 or something, and be like, oh yes. No, but with the person we partner with right now, if you go in and you talk to him about Warcry, I've gotten pings on our Discord server from him, right? Like, hey, like there's this guy said I should come talk to you, or I was there, I was playing another game with some friends, not even Warhammer related, and somebody came up because Darius is like, hey Vint, you got a moment? This guy has a question about Warhammer stuff, and I just wanted to show him to you. I was like, sure. And so, like, right, we scratch each other's backs, and it helps. We've also had a hard time, right, where we landed right after the Warhammer store when I left. Was a good environment for a little bit, and then things got a little spicy there. So we moved on, right? And there's a time and a place where if you're looking at your group of people, and somebody comes in when you're there and asks about Warcry, and the person behind the counter goes, yeah, it's one of those Warhammer games or wargaming games, I don't know, it seems expensive, that might be a sign that you need to find a new LGS to go at, right? Or if they're literally chasing you out when you do finally get some people there, that's normally the final call, right? Like, you can't, if you've had some kind of meet up with them, to be like, please don't chase my friends away when we play games here, as long as you guys aren't being rambunctious or in the wrong. If they're just being rude, then it's time to go. If no other reason, then the consistency that you'll be able to have there will be less, and you want to make sure you're keeping a clean and cohesive group, right? If you ask me, Josh, or Eric about Warcry, we're going to tell you it's our favorite. If you ask us about what we like about the hobby, we're going to tell you there's a lot of stuff. And we have that reflected in our LGS. And your LGS should be there to support you because you're there to support them, right? You're giving them a service by running a league or running a group or having people show up at their store. The busier they look, the better it's going to seem that this is a good place to come play games of any nature, especially one that doesn't take up much space. Find a good LGS partner.
I'll also just add early days of Age of Sigmar before it was, like 2016, 2017. We spent some time trying to build community by rotating game shops. So we would try and pick a different night, rotate weeks, go someplace else, and sort of, because even in a local geography, people are kind of scattered to neighborhoods or to kind of parts of town. And so you can sort of like work your way through the city or the town you're in, picking up like, attracting or finding those people, finding out when their game night is and trying to find people then. That can be another way to kind of find that one other or two others or something like that. Now, once you have a second or a third and you're getting together and you're kind of being consistent, playing together, and then I think the next step is to create some sort of structure around your get-together. It doesn't have to be a lot, and I'm not going to. But if it's kind of a free for all, or people don't know what to expect from it, I think it can be. Um, I think so. Let me flip it. I think it has been really beneficial when people know what to expect when they show up for a game night with us. And so there are a couple of ways to do that. Josh, do you want to talk about League and how we've kind of decided to structure that as our
Yeah, definitely.
and how much structure is there? How much is it to start that?
Yeah, and again, it kind of evolves over time. But I think like in the initial thing is the consistency. Kind of agreeing, hey, does which day works best for most people, what time, and then we'll be here from this time to this time. Well, I'm bringing all the terrain. I'm bringing my stuff. You just need to bring models, or if you need a loaner warband, we can provide that too. So it's kind of establishing mainly a place and a time. Weekly is nice, but again, bi-weekly, whatever works. It could be monthly, depending on the group and the individuals. And then you just say, we're going to be here from this time to this time. So you show up any point in there, we'll have some hobby or something else going on, or if something changes, you communicate, let people know. But I think that's been really helpful. People know, okay, if I'm going to show up, I'm going to at least see my friends. I'll get to do some hobby. Maybe, maybe the games are busy. I've got some stuff I can work on and still participate. I can heckle people. There's lots of fun ways to still connect, even though you may not be playing immediately at that time. But, there's going to be people playing. And but once you have that, you can again set up a league. And we found 8 weeks to be pretty good, where you can kind of have your warband develop over time, and we'll insert events, memorable multiplayer events or other things to kind of capture the interest or throw everybody together at once to kind of get a unique play experience for people, something that's memorable as well. And I think that works pretty well. And when we first did the initial leagues, we also included like a warband painting contest, and so kind of encourage people to paint up a warband during the course of the league night, and it'd be kind of fun to introduce some of that. And as the league evolved, we also kind of did some house rules and kind of tweak some of the things that were unclear in the rules set, or in terms of like now encampments, you can lose them pretty rapidly. So we're looking at different ways to make them more enjoyable to go after that faction-specific encampment, so people will be more interested narratively to pursue that. So you kind of get the feedback from the league and you build on it so that everybody stays engaged and has a lot of fun, and then has unique opportunities to try their own stuff or whatnot.
No, I think it's important not to try and like rule with an iron fist or anything like that,
Right.
but to create to have say, hey, we're gonna play narrative, and that is bring some certain rules to it. We're gonna have an 8-week schedule so that when new people come in, it's a fresh start, right? It can be some people are intimidated when they start, and everybody's been playing a warband for 8 weeks, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to get crushed." Right? You start fresh, you start new, you get new points of entry. We do narrative, but I remember that our Underworlds community, our brothers and sisters over there, we're doing a ladder type. Kind of that was their structure. That ladders are sort of like you can pick somebody a couple rungs above you can play them, and if you win you change slots or something like that, right? That's a more competitive type of group, and that would be totally fun way to start kind of a community. So I think that there's other ways to structure it that can be light. The other thing, what can be nice about like when we do these 8-week rotations, that we can change it up. We could say, hey, this time we're going to focus, like this last time we focused on bespoke warbands, and everybody kind of picked a bespoke warband because people were picking more soup stuff or more, like compendium stuff. And so we kind of wanted to switch it up just to let people use different warbands. Like sometimes we do special events. We'll do a siege event, or we'll do a multiplayer event, just to, but we let people know ahead of time, and we do it kind of in between leagues, just to create different excitement or points of interest, or kind of break up the monotony of it, because even fun games can get monotonous if you're doing the same thing over and over. Any other thoughts on structure?
There's even there was a point in time too where we were all signed up for Dan's event, the tournament, and so since a large majority of the group was planning to go, we decided, okay, we're going to practice some tournament lists during our league nights, so we kind of changed it up to composite narrative. We did that for a while. And again, it's just about maintaining that enthusiasm, that engagement. You change it up, spice it up. We had Mike run, 3 weeks of League for us while we were prepping for Adepticon. So he came in with this new setup and kind of ran it and added
Campaign
some
arc.
twists to it. Right, exactly. So I mean, once players get involved and engaged, share that responsibility because they would love to, share their imagination and their enthusiasm and creativity too.
But to start off, keep it light, keep it easy to manage. It doesn't need to be a huge amount of paperwork or anything like that. But some structure gives an expectation of what people are coming into, what's expected of them, and kind of if they try something and it's not exactly what they like, that there's a point to start over or everyone's going to start fresh. Now, I think you guys mentioned this a little bit. What about stuff? What about bringing stuff? What about that barrier of entry of stuff on the table? What does somebody trying to create a new community, what do they need to come with to kind of ensure best results or to kind of give them the best shot? Vint, do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, making sure you have warbands enough for you and your friend to play. Making sure they're balanced. Don't bring your tournament list and something that's like, well, I got this out of a start collecting box. Here you go. I grabbed 10 models at random off of my bespoke warband set. Here's your unmade. Now here comes my Cornate Super Demon list. Goodbye. Here's my 4 Varangard. Have fun. It's just make sure that they're balanced. And if you're not sure, bespoke warbands are great. You should have a pretty balanced time with most of those.
How much?
And they're built for that.
If it's the two you are playing with your second person, you might play on one set of terrain all the time. Even for the two of you, it'd be great to have a second set of terrain if you can afford it. If it's something, and if you can use put some terrain together from other stuff that you already have, great. I think,
talk to your LGS. Yeah.
See if another reason to partner with an LGS is what is their terrain situation, or if you're willing to paint up terrain for them, sometimes they have some Warcry terrain that they've have in stock that they'd love to put on the table, but they need somebody to paint it. Could be a great way to kind of get some more terrain for the community you're building.
And and it's something Vint mentioned earlier is I haven't played necessarily a whole Warcry game outside, but when my kids were younger, we would play with models out in the grass, the dirt, building forts with trees and sticks. I mean, you can set up a fairly decent Warcry play space outside. And
and Vint talked about coffee cups, right?
Exactly.
You can get creative. If many stories have been told about people entering wargaming with books covered by blankets to make hills and all that kind of stuff. So,
exactly.
So having a few boards can be great. Not the most important, but they can add a lot of visual. We like to have some painted up boards and terrains when we're playing because people stop and they look at it, right? You'll get rubbernecking if you have nice looking terrain, right? And if you have good looking boards and painted armies, you'll get people that are walking through the store and they will stop to look at what you're doing. So again, there's ways to do this without that. The benefit to, if you have those things and you struggle with painting, that getting those things painted can give you a little boost as well, just for table presentation. I think to your point, you talked about demos. I think even better than list building, knowing how to list build or balance lists for demos, is knowing how to unoptimize your choices. Learn how to run a game where you're helping somebody run through what their list does rather than focusing on running your list the most optimally or to that sort of thing. So learn. You
kind of teach all the different rules and what they can do. And
let them beat up on you so that they can use their abilities and use their stuff. Just think of it like a tutorial in a video game. It's supposed to be on easy mode for them, right? But that's, I think that's important. But yeah.
Hey, Josh, could you run a training game with me just so I could win one real quick? I'm
even
kind
tell
of
you what
new
I'm gonna
here.
do. Well,
Could you?
I'm going to do this Fint. So I'm going to do this next.
Yeah.
So you might want to stop that.
One of the,
I was listening and all I could think of was like, man, I've seen all these crazy videos of people doing stuff in mosh pits. If you have a video or a picture of you doing Warcry in a mosh pit, you are the bravest soul I know. I will get a T-shirt with your face on it and a picture. It'll happen. I'll wear it. It'll be great.
nice. I think that should be a cosplay for Adepticon next year. Is just like a harness with a board laid out and ready to play at any time. Demo game of Warcry as
It's
a cosplay.
like the popcorn vendors.
Yeah,
You just
yeah,
get
yeah. Get your Warcry here. Get your Warcry.
The demo thing over your head, like it's time. Demos here. Warcry demos here.
Yes. Nope. Absolutely. So you've got you get your core group. You find a place. You create a modicum of structure just so that you can, when people come in, you say it's this, it's this, it's this. Structure feels important. You bring enough stuff to not just play for you and your buddy, but maybe have a second set so you could introduce her to have another couple of games. Bring a warband or 2 or 3 so that other people can play. Now, I know this sounds like we're saying, hey, you need to invest a lot. My assumption is if you're gung-ho for this game, you've probably already purchased a couple of things, right, in the hopes of this. So I hope you don't feel like we're putting like a financial burden on you to say, hey, you have to spend $500 to start a community. If it's something you're already investing in and then you just want people to play, hopefully you already have these things. Partner with a local game store if financially that's not the easiest thing for you to do. Find somebody or your buddy to partner with that. Now, and then once you have enough stuff and you start playing, hopefully you're now, and let's just say it's you and your buddy playing, or it's a third person playing. I would still recommend this next step is create an online space to talk about the games you're playing. Does that make sense?
I think a big part of this part, too, when you're switching into an online space as well, it can alleviate some of the, well, we don't have a good LGS, right? We have one in town, and they're really not nice. Or the nearest one is like, 65 miles away, and we're not going to drive that every Tuesday to go play our 65-minute game. So we're going to be playing at each other's houses, and,
Yep.
we only had $60 to get into this game together. We both got our $60 and got a Warcry set, or we partnered up, or we're playing with Legos, or whatever it is. The fun is what matters, and so when you have an online space that isn't tied to a physical location, you can then use that online space to communicate and talk about it. Man, I had 3 years of battles for the Nacho Bowl. We did a 3-way battle every Friday with the same armies over the same Nacho Bowl, and we would just change up the candles in the middle to cover for line of sight. And it was so fun, and it took me a while to even get into the terrain. It took me getting the job at Games Workshop to get into the terrain, because I was like, Nacho Bowl, yeah, like this is great. I need nothing more. How many games have been played at Michelangelo's Coffee House with just coffee cups?
Yeah.
A lot. It's been a lot.
My question is, did you choose a Nacho Bowl so that whoever won could just say Nacho Bowl?
All the time.
Okay, yeah.
And it was great because there, after a few drinks, people would be like, would the Mutalith Vortex Beast float on these nachos or no? Could he stand in the Nacho Bowl? And will we allow it?
Yep.
And usually the rule was only if you make sure he's cleaned up afterwards.
Well, and I'll say, so for me and my buddy playing pickleball, it's just text. We have a text chain that's where we just mostly talk about pickleball. Once in a while, are we taking kids to the pool or whatever, but we talk about pickleball. We say, and what we use that space for to say is, hey, are you excited about playing pickleball in a few days, right? Tomorrow or the next couple of days. When we started chatting and when we have our friends in our local Discord, because I want to say have people doesn't mean you don't have to keep working at it. You still need to however often that you're going to play, get people hyped up. You need to say, hey, who's all coming out on X day to play some Warcry? Or if you're not there, hey, how did Warcry go tonight? I wasn't there. Send me pics. Or, guys, did you check that out? I loved playing that game tonight. Like, you need a kind of the water cooler to chat and kind of keep the fun going. And I think we know this naturally because we do this all the time, but I just want to call it out specifically that even if you've got a small group, you still need to have a space online where the 2 or 3 or 4 of you can chat about it and chew on it and razz each other and hype up the next time you're going to get together. Or
coordinate, yeah.
Or here's what I'm picking up, or here's what I'm buying. Think about this list. Like, if you just reserve your time to chat for the night that you're playing, I think you limit how much energy you create for the community that you're building. If you can translate it to even a small space online that you can grow and add to. For us, it used to be a messenger group, right? It wasn't even a Facebook group. It was just a messenger chain. Now we have a whole Discord, a couple of Discord channels we work off of. So we have more tools to work with. But I think all of those things, and then this is where we learn a lot about this online community stuff. Hey, have you seen this article? And you post that there. Or did you see online Metamusings, or offline, sorry, I said it wrong. Off Metamusings, do you see their latest video? And you post a link. So you use that online to connect and plug, and you're building more time together and community beyond that one night that you're together playing games.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's nice too because it's varying perspectives too, right? Like you're building in, hey, this is a safe place for all of your thoughts too. This is our hobby, right? We shouldn't be like, oh boy, I'm scared of my hobby, which is another thing too with LGSs. Like, it's nice to be able to communicate. Hey, friend, now that we've played 2 games at the LGS, do you want to try and like have a beer and like play someplace else? You know, maybe you come over to my place, maybe I come over to your place, and we play some games. We play them on a patio and watch the sunset at Eric's. We play them in a garage, or you play them at Michelangelo's. So you can play them anywhere.
Yeah.
But having that ability to then flex and find new places, you're doing it together, and it's something that is very corroborative, and that's really good at its core. Yeah. No matter where you're playing.
Yeah. And even in our local community, like Ian and Zach will, and even other times Paven, we've had like a hobby night once in a while. We'll, hey, this week, for a couple hours, I'm painting online. If you guys want to paint, we'll join in. So even beyond Warcry, they're painting Warcry warbands, they're painting other models, but just developing that community has led to, I'm going to be painting at home for a couple hours. Hey, let's video chat in. We'll talk about it. We'll continue discussing our hobby while we're doing this together. So it's kind of building and reinforcing that community and camaraderie that continues to feed into the league and going forth from there.
Yeah. It means that not only are people playing Warcry on the night that we've created to kind of focus it, but people are playing now, scheduling other nights to get together. They're forming closer bonds. They're creating stronger relationships. And one of the things that I want to kind of quickly, before we get into maybe growing this, right? Because I think that's the next thing to talk about. But we've heard about the importance of the third space, right? Most people have their home and they have their work, right? Their workspaces. Their home space is one place where they got family and kids, and they have that identity wrapped up in that and all the activities you got going on. I know, Josh, you and I are in different places in our parenting. I've got young kids, you got old kids, but our home is one space. Vint, you've got your partner and you and the things you do together, and Warcry may not always be one of those, right? And then you've got your work, right? Your profession, your professional self, that part of your identity. But it's important for people to have a third space where they can sort of be their self, right? A different, that self, right? Not the bachelor or the
gamer self.
Like, and some people might choose that third place to be, a place they go and watch sports with other people, or So there's lots of different places for that third place to be, but it's shown to be really important for people to have a third place as identity, to be seen, to build community, to kind of express themselves. And this is something that your gaming community can be for people. And I think that's pretty important. All right, we've talked about starting, like the level set foundation, grab one or two other people, get consistent, find a place, create a little bit of structure. Between the two or three of you, have enough stuff to play, a couple of boards, or invite somebody, have extra warbands to invite somebody into, learn how to play demos. Once you've got that established of just a couple of people, get online and start making sure that Warcry talk is beyond just the night that you play. If you can do that, and make sure that you don't take it for granted that just because everybody else is interested now that they're always going to be as interested all the time. Things come up, so you got to hype it. You got to keep people excited. You need to change it up, etc. Now let's talk about growing. Once you have that foundation and you've played 15 times, your friend 15 times in a row, right? 15 weeks playing the same person and always losing.
Still haven't beat Josh.
God.
You beat me.
If your friend never lets you win, maybe get new friends.
You need to play more often.
Vint, maybe get new friends.
I do.
If he doesn't let you win even one time, no.
No. I need help. I need training. Clearly.
So let's talk about growing. And first and foremost, when you want to grow, who do you invite? Who are some people that would be good candidates for coming into your group? I mean, besides the person ordering coffee across, anybody across your path. I know, Vint, your language here is broad. Your categorization is broad here. Let's get a little more realistic.
So I think a big one is to honestly probably invite your local Warcry celebrity in. So if you're in, like, say, Dayton, I'd maybe invite those guys. If you're in Madison and you don't invite us, well. All kidding aside, using your social platforms to reach out to local groups. If you're in a 40K Discord, if you're in a Age of Sigmar Discord, if you're in any of those things, be like, hey, does anybody play Warcry? I'd really like to try it. You'll find at least one or two people, probably, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got the stuff. And if they don't have the stuff, they're like, yeah, I'll give it a try. Especially if you're like, I have the models, and they're already into wargaming, they're in. Even if they're like, I don't know if I got the time, the bandwidth. Dude, it's Warcry. It's like the easiest way to play Warhammer. The fastest way to learn. The new edition of 40K looks closer to Warcry than just about anything. It's great. I can't wait to push my Space Marines onto the table to fight some Cypher Lords. It's going to happen.
No, I think Games Workshop players is a great place to start. Like, any Games Workshop players who are familiar with it, the game exists. Just ask. Like, see if anybody's interested. We've got at least one, maybe two players in our Warcry League that were previously 40K players, and they're just looking for something a little bit different. So that's a great place to start. Try and find that could be where you find your second, but that could be where you start finding your fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. Where would you go? Skirmish players, people that already like skirmish games. So Kill
your
Team,
friends in the Kill Team community.
Yeah.
Your Kill Team guys. They want to play.
What's a good? I think, I don't know if you said this to somebody or to John. Somebody said if you're good at Kill Team, you'll do even better in Warcry. So it's not as complex as Kill Team, or it doesn't have the same kind of strategies. But what you know and have honed in Kill Team is great knowledge inside of Warcry. What other skirmish games are out there? Shatterpoint or the Legion, the Star Wars stuff?
MCP, Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Yeah.
Legion, Star Wars Legion players.
Yep.
Star Wars Legion players are just excited they don't have to paint so much, and it's still about the same scale.
Right.
Because it's a lot of
Yeah,
white or
there's
it's a lot of tan.
Malifaux, there's Infinity,
Malifaux.
there's lots of really good skirmish games
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
You know, people, you know, they got that time budgeted.
yeah,
You know, it's like, okay, well, yeah, we can play this game in that same amount of
yep,
time, similar number of models. It's, you know, it's more convincing than saying, oh
yeah,
yeah, you need a 2,000 point AOS army.
yeah.
Well, that's a different
And that
commitment.
might be a good like trade. Like, would you show me a game of MCP and I'll show you a game of Warcry? That could be a really good entry
Right,
point. Um,
right.
even if you have
Yeah.
no intention whatsoever of going over to the dark side of Legion. Anyway, um,
I have Legion models.
what about board gamers? What do you guys think about inviting board gamers to play some Warcry?
I mean, Underworlds is essentially a board game.
Yeah,
I mean, in a lot
Uh,
of ways.
so when you're pitching it to board gamers, it's important to tell them you're just playing a game.
Hmm.
Not that you're playing Warhammer, not that you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, whatever game you're playing that's bigger than just tonight. If you tell them you're just playing a game, suddenly it is the most approachable piece of ice cream they've ever had. But the moment you say, "Hey, this is Warhammer," they're like,
sure.
"Expensive."
Yeah,
So making sure you set the expectation that this is a board game that'll play faster than most board games out there. Oh, you used to play in Pandemic. That's super cool. Hey, how about we play 3 games of this other board game real quick and check it out? If you don't like it after the first, we'll jump right back into Pandemic. How's that sound? And they'll go, boy, that sounds great. Yeah, we could do that for a break. And then they play it and they're like, wait, so there's like a story that goes with this?
yeah,
So I can play like a bunch of games, and when we're done, we're just done?
yeah.
But even your Settlers of Catan players, right? My brother-in-law is a Settlers of Catan player, and he wants to check out Warhammer as long as he doesn't have to worry about the models. And I was like, this is easy enough, man. I've got everything 6 times over. What do you need? And we've talked about it, and it's really just setting up schedules because we work opposites. But he's down, right? And it really is just that simple. As soon as we stop saying it's Warhammer, right? I have one of the Warhammer board games you could buy at Barnes & Noble, and it's Stormcast versus Chaos and the Taint of Chaos, and you fight it back. We haven't played that game, but the moment I said I got a board game that's Warhammer themed, he was like, "Oh, I'd be interested in a board game," and that was Warcry. So
Nice.
it's a very different way to use the same language. And realistically, Warcry does play fast.
No,
Yeah.
I get that because I have experienced that as well, where board gamers know of Warhammer and it's intimidated. They've decided that that's not the route that they want to go. They want open it
It's
up,
forbidden.
lay down the pieces, and go. Which I would say Warcry is probably easier than some board games, right? For setup
yeah,
and that
much.
sort of thing. So
This is like Zombicide, which is technically a board game, but you know it's got a lot more models than you got in your Warcry warbands.
Yep,
I
yep.
mean,
Yeah.
it's
yeah. Another reason, yeah, like you said, have some things. And I mean, Vin, also you have a unique position where you're super generous with the things you're having. You will give somebody a warband if it means they'll come and play. So
Yeah.
that's pretty fantastic.
One of the guys at work called me a push-a-man the other day because I was like, "Hey, your first one's free. Come with me. We'll get you a combat patrol."
You want some of that push fit?
Oh, you sound like a push-a-man.
Try and get pity from your spouse. See if your spouse will play. Hey, sweetie, I'm feeling bad. Nobody's joining my league. Would you come and pad our numbers? Maybe that'll help. Maybe that would work. And then
a lot of people do play with their spouses.
your
so
your
it's good.
your partner really likes it, and they join it. Pretty cool.
And now you both have a Warhammer solution. And
Solution.
It's self-supporting. That's all.
yeah, and nobody has money anymore.
Yeah.
Ramen for weeks prior to a big launch. Yeah, no, I get it.
Oh man. All right. So there's some ideas of people to start looking for, and I mean honestly, as we've started growing it, a lot of it is each person that joins our group, either invite somebody that they know and is interested in playing, right? Or is they're representing our group so that when there is somebody at the LGS that say, hey, I'm interested in that. And I know this happened just this last week with we had a kind of a, were you there, Josh? this last week.
No,
I wasn't there
not
either.
that this last week.
Nope.
But somebody who'd been painting at Mox Mania had been there painting and kind of perusing, had been interested, and got introduced by, I think, Darius or somebody else to the people playing, and they sat and chatted with them. And that person has gotten on our Discord, and now they're, like, they may just come and paint. Like, we've just tried. Maybe I'll take a step back. As soon as you're wanting to grow, you got to take a look at the space you're creating, the energy you're creating, and make sure that it's the most welcoming, open space that you can create. Right? If you're worried about winning individual games over growing community, like, growing community needs to be your first priority, I think, for a while, over getting the most games in. Now, sometimes I get a little greedy. I get there super early so I can get, like, potentially 3 games in a night. But I've started to notice too, there's times where I take a break because I'm like, I want to greet people as they're coming in. I want to make sure that other people have games to play, and that they're not sitting with their, twiddling their thumbs. They could be playing a game. I get plenty of games. I don't need to play. I don't need 3 games a night in order to keep my interest in this group. I need to make sure other people get 2 games in or 1 game in or something like that.
Or 3 games a night to make sure I win every game. Josh. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes. I'll say is that I feel like some of these skirmish games, these smaller commitment games, are drawing more people in of more backgrounds. So if you're a group that wants to be just dudes, you're not going to grow your community as big as if you're going to be more welcoming to, people of all genders, right? If you're just trying to be AOS, like, and somebody comes in with 40K and they come from a different background or a different game, like, you need to be a space where somebody who doesn't know anything about Warhammer, doesn't come from that tradition, feels comfortable coming in and playing. And if you're the one starting the group, you're in charge of that, right? You need to be setting that tone. And I mean, I feel super blessed that you two are both some of the most open and accepting people that I've ever met, and that you generally want people to have a great time regardless of what their experience has been. Like, there is no judgment whatsoever. In fact, you guys are both so over the moon if somebody's new, because you want to be their first experience in this game so that it is the best experience it could possibly be, right? And I think that's, I mean, for us as the Mortal Realms group, as the Dogs of Warcry, when we run events, we want our events and our spaces to be the most open, welcoming, and the best experience people have of all of their Warcry experiences or other game experiences. And so we would welcome you to adopt a similar mindset to help grow this. That doesn't mean you can't, like, razz people or figure out, like,
right.
your group dynamics.
Know them first.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, like, in that same way, like, you're building community. You're not building a feeder for your games or for your win streaks or anything like that, right? So just focus there. That being said, so sorry for getting long-winded and passionate about the way you guys build community, but now that you want to promote, what are some ways that we can promote our activities here? How do we get the word out further than that?
Running demo games is so huge, and that's not just the GW manager in me. It's really that, like, you run a demo game and you teach somebody the basics, right? You don't even have to get through the let's roll to see if they lived or died. You can just do, congratulations, how did it feel to win your first Warhammer game? How did this first game feel? What is it about you that made this fun, right? Like, get into what was your favorite part, like, of the whole experience. What was your favorite part? Asking people those follow-up questions just to see that they had fun should be something. I've done it at tournaments, right? I'll be in the 3rd spot at a tournament, and I'll be like, dude, what was your favorite part of that game? And they'll look at me like I'm speaking French, and they'll be like, okay, and they'll come back and they'll tell me something that was important. Running that demo game, running that let's have fun game, and it's about both of us as people, not so much about our little toy soldiers. Like, let's talk about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
what was fun? This is the goal of what our hobby is, right? If I had a hobby that was like smashing my hand with a hammer, and it was no fun ever, I wouldn't have it as a hobby very long. So keep your eye on the prize, and it's fun. And fun comes in the face of a lot of different things, right? Maybe the guy loves painting, and he's like, dude, it looks so cool when my model was on top of the barricade and those bamboo sticks when he was going to jump down and kill your Mutalith, and I was like, yeah, it's really cool, my Mutalith definitely died. Like, but, you know, that might be their moment for the game. But it could also be the moment where the guy was like, yes, in my 16.5% chance anime protagonist glasses, you know, went off and I got your guy and I killed him so dead and then took the objective and won the game. Like, and that's good too, right? Have your fun your way. Just don't make it cost the other guy, okay? You know, like it shouldn't be at somebody's expense. Like, you know, never paint shame should be always a thing. Never, you know, there's definitely a lot of nevers that you can do, and we could fill a whole podcast.
Well, I was going to
with
say, I
nevers.
think maybe episode 1 of next season should be how to run a demo game that doesn't stink.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Let's make that episode 1 of next season. So stay tuned for that. But I think your point is you need to be willing to run demo games. You need to be willing to go from like, I'm playing at the top level of this game to like, let me get down to basics. Let me get down to introducing a new person into this, because I'll get back to playing at high level later. I need to introduce somebody to this world that I love, and hope that they love it too, in their way. And I think you can travel. I think that's another way to partner with other local game stores. I know some of our crew has
And other play groups.
Yep. And say, hey, would your play group be interested in a demo of this? Right? Try something new. That could be a really cool. That actually could be really cool, because we got a Underworlds community in our local area, and we're doing some like through our podcasting network. We're doing some quid pro quo type of stuff, but it could be a cool like, hey, what if on your league or our league night we run Underworlds and you come show it to us or something like that. Although different game nights, I mean, there's a reason why we have them on our game nights and people schedule for that stuff. But just thinking out loud.
I don't know anybody that does both.
What do you think about the advice of start a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it can be tricky to get your head wrapped around it, but yeah, certainly we have the advantage of advertising that way.
There's a couple of our group members who listen to our podcast because they were interested in Warcry because they found it online. They went to online groups. They found our podcast, started listening, and they were like, "Wait a minute, did they say they're from Madison?" And that I'm in Madison, so they came and found us. Like, there's something to be said for having an online way of communicating presence to communicate to your city, even if it's not we've found some people that way, right? And it's fun because then they can make fun of us and how we sound online in person.
Right.
I get a lot of
excited when we mention them online.
Oh yeah.
And they get to be guests and permanent members.
You told it. Why'd you say permanent out loud? We're kind of holding that over his head. Is it? Well, is it? Permeating.
Is it?
Permeating. You are permitted to come on tonight. No.
But yeah.
Flyer, like it's about communicating in your local community on different social platforms. If you have local Facebook groups, the same place you're like, we're starting to recruit people that keep promoting it, keep talking about it, hype it up, let people know that it's happening.
And if you're playing at a local game store, having a poster or a flyer that indicates when you're meeting, how often, how to get contacted. That way the person at the store can say, oh yeah, hey, have you seen this? There's this information here. Contact them. They know how to get a hold of you, and that can help build the community in that sense.
Here's what I'm going to say. Run an event locally. Create a space where there is an event going on, and it's different than a league night. And I think a lot of people think about it different than a league night. Promote that to a number of your local game stores. Let them know that you're running an event. We've had so many people have their like first or second game be at an event, because for some reason that seems more appealing to them to go and, they've been math hammering in their head and building their list like on their own, and like they want to go and test it. And they want to have many games in one day, and it's maybe easier for them to commit a Saturday than it is every Thursday or every Tuesday.
Or they don't know about the league, community
Right.
yet, and that's right.
And it might be an event might catch their ear a little bit more than a game night or something like
Right.
that. We ran, or one of our members ran an event that was sort of like a crazy no holds barred kind of event, and I think we grabbed two new people, came to heard about the event, and in planning for the event came to one of our league nights so they could get a practice demo game in, so that they could have more fun at the event. And it was a great way of introducing them to our crew, our community, and have something cool like that to go to. There's more noise and excitement around an event. And if you can do one, it's also healthy for your gaming group to have something like that to switch it up and plan for.
Yeah, a different way to play. Yeah, different. Encourages new war bands, new play styles, new tactics.
And one of the things that really galvanized our group really faster than I expected, was us going up to a regional event up with Dan's event up in the Twin Cities. One person was like, "Hey, there's this event. I'm thinking about going. I think that'd be really cool." And then number 2 jumped on, and that wasn't even. I don't know if it was that you, Vint, that started that chain.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it really, we had 7 people drive 2 cars up there, hang out, represent, and that was just a lot of fun and built great memories for us, and I think we'd known each other a couple of months, if that, right? We'd only played together for a little bit, but it really set the tone for our league. It really kind of boosted the commitment to the group that a lot of our new players had. So it was a big surge for us. It was a big boost for us. And then beyond that was Adepticon, because of we'd already had a track record of 6 or 8 months of playing as a league. Adepticon became a more appealing thing for people to go to, and we had a huge group of our local players came to Adepticon to participate in different events, and our event that we ran. And that was great to have familiar faces there with us, right? And I'm sure, and many of them are open to helping us with those things in the future. But Adepticon sort of for one of the meccas for our gaming for Warcry, right? For tabletop miniatures. Nova being another one, and LVO being another one. But to kind of, again, to galvanize, to meet more people. You might meet people at Adepticon from your hometown or nearby. I know I was connecting people so Adepticon's in Chicago. I know there's multiple people from Chicago that I was saying, "Hey, do you know this person? You're both in Chicago. Do you know each other? Do you play?" That sort of thing. And it can be a great way to, I think it can be harder to find people in bigger cities, granted,
Yeah, it's regionalized.
Yeah. So,
Well, and there's also a billion places to play, right? We talked about LGSs. When there's 14 in a 5-mile radius, it's hard to decide where you're playing and where you're going to put up stakes.
People are much more segmented and disparate when there's a lot of choices. What's convenient for them. Yeah. Anything else on that promoting side or growing community? Anything else that we've done or something that you'd like to share that would?
Yeah, I think one other thing, and again, the Warcry community is fairly giving, but one thing that we did, especially early on, is whenever we created an event and we ran it in house and tweaked it, I would often share it online, saying, "Hey, we ran this event locally. We had a great time. It's out here. You guys give it a try. Maybe you'd like to play it." And I think, when you come up with a neat idea, sharing that with other people, kind of, I guess, again, grows that positive communal group of, oh yeah, I've got these ideas. Oh, I've got this list building app thing now. So now we have this great list of resources and websites and YouTubes that we can go to because people are willing to share. They're not keeping it from. This is not. I'm not patenting this, like our Adepticon event, right? We're sharing that information with communities in Missouri so they can run that
Yep.
locally, and have a great time and try out all those different tools and
Yeah.
stuff. And I think that's a great way to build community, but also show good faith in other communities and help them grow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go back to what we said at the beginning about not trying to hold too tightly to, hey, this is my league. Because what we've been able to do is teach other people how to run demos, right? I know, we bring up Mike every so often. I remember the first demo he ran for somebody, he crushed them. And I was like, Mike, you got to pull back a little bit. And I mean, but I know that anybody who plays Mike has a good time regardless of whether they're winning or losing. So
Yeah,
it didn't
yeah.
end up impacting. Like, that person is still gaming with us, so he didn't lose anybody. But he's also like that signal, like, and talking through it was like, oh yeah, I can play different when I'm demoing. Like, and if you have more people that can demo, right? If I'm not there one week and somebody shows up to play, we've got other people that can kind of run that and to kind of it's multiplying, right? If we're all capable of inviting people in, if we're all capable of if your tone and the space you create is contagious to other people, right? If they get it and they understand, if it's intentional, then they're going to propagate that. They're going to lift up that same culture that you're building, and share that with the next group of people that kind of comes in. And that's, you've got to let that go. You've got to kind of train more people to be forefront, right? And be for your group.
That's good. I mean, I think this time around, obviously, there's been a lot of support. We don't have the pandemic in the way, so
Yep.
that's been a huge plus.
Don't try and grow
I know when we
local
started-
gaming group during a pandemic.
It started, and then that's just hard to maintain when you
Yeah.
can't play games as
Yep.
much. But I think it's one of the things I have seen more with this league in the last year is people sharing hobby a lot more in terms of like conversions and ideas, unique models, terrain, building and painting terrain sets, or coming up with novel ways to play. And that's something I don't think we got a whole lot of in the first couple years of it was mainly you and myself coming up with ideas and things like that. So I think that's been really fun to have this creative group that's also sharing the hobby and the community as well as the playing. And I think that's why people are so willing to like, oh, hey, I'm going to try and run this tournament, and I think it's been a fun group, and I think I've learned a lot, and other people are learning a lot. We're sharing and just kind of building off each other's ideas and motivation. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Well, one of the cool things I've found in the last year has been the sharing regionally, right? So Dan took stuff from us to run his Salty Sea event up in Minneapolis that we attended, and that was really cool to see like a little bit of Dogs of Warcry flavor there. And then I think Ian, from the sounds of it, I know that at the competitive Warcry event, there was stuff that I talked to Dan about that I was then talking to Kevin about, who ran the event at Adepticon for the competitive side.
Yeah.
And there was stuff as you kind of bounced around in those places where you learned more because of experiences with each other. And what that's doing is it's forming a regional community. So travel, like get out and see people, because the people in our area are going to be just like you, and they're going to be awesome if you're in the Midwest. If you're not in the Midwest, still travel and go meet the people in your community. It's important to know you will have the community you earn.
Are you saying we're mid-best?
I would say we have some really cool conversions. But yes, mid-best. I like that.
The kids these days say
New team
see
name.
mid as being kind of vanilla or not having much going for them. So
Would you say we're base?
yeah, we're base, but the best kind of base.
So anyway,
Traveling
well done,
can
Eric.
be you can learn a lot, you can share a lot, and the community grows as a whole overall.
Yeah.
I think that way.
I do think it was helpful for us to have a pretty big season for Warcry, and Games Workshop promoting this pretty big. We're not certain whether or not 2024, the fall into winter is going to be as big, right? The size of the boxes or releases may not be the same size. So the energy generated for new players may not be as big without that. But that's yet to be seen. But so that's been a piece that's been kind of new, right? Because it was a big re-release, relaunch, that really helped us out. And that's, I think coming off of this past season, I think there's a lot of people that saw it, bought into it, but haven't gotten to gaming groups. And if you build, I think this is going to be a good building year for it.
Yeah.
In 2024. Anything else that if you kind of wish listing, if you wish our we could do something for our group or our local community, anything that you've thought about that you'd love to try out and kind of help solidify or congeal? Those are all seem like negative words, but they mean good things by them.
I think one of the big things I'm going to be working on this year, and I write my seasons and my seasonal goals like I still work for GW sometimes, but it works because that's the game and the hobby and the calendar we play by.
Yeah.
So for this season, if you will, starting in the next couple months, I'm going to try and make more local game days where they are like AOS or 40K or whatever they are. And I'll bring my Warcry stuff. And I know I've said it on the podcast before, but the big running joke when I go to tournaments is, has he talked to you about Warcry yet? When my friends will walk by the table. It doesn't matter what game we're playing, but that generally comes up. And
you're going to go infiltrate other spaces.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, I want to gauge some of the interest, right? I haven't been out to Gemini Games in Stoughton to play in their group or their league, but it's huge.
Yeah.
Everything I've heard about it is it's a giant AOS group that has a lot of players that are supposed to be pretty good.
Nice.
So I want to go check it out and see what they have and see who those people are and talk to the LGS manager there and be like, hey, look, do you want to talk to some of your guys and see if they'd be interested in Warcry? I'd swing out on one of these nights and we'd all play.
Yeah.
Do you have a Discord server, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Josh, anything that you'd love to see in the community or see somebody try?
Well, one of the things I disappointed we never got to try like the Soreth Core map-based campaign that came out for Warcry 1.0.
Yeah.
So I'd love for us to design some sort of like unique place campaign for one of our leagues, and kind of help, have us all build our space and flavor there. And, so lots of ideas out there, of course. And we've talked a lot about different ideas too for Adepticon, whatever else. But I would love to build something like that with the community we have. That'd be cool.
I tried to find a time in May to have like a cookout in Warcry, so we could play outdoors with the wind in our hair blowing over models and have some tasty things roasting on the grill. But May turned out to be May turned out to be a bad time, so maybe July or August I'll see if something like that can happen. Just as an impromptu or one of our league nights, hey, come out and bring something for the grill. And we'll try that out.
Yep. Now that we've talked about all those things and how to build your community and how that's all going, I just want to say, come check us out on the Discord. themortalrealms.com/Discord. You can find me on DOWVint at twitter.com, and you can find Josh at
J.E. Arrington, twitter.com, and of course all of us at dogsofwarcry@gmail.com.
And you can find me at Stonemonk Gamer on Twitter, but primarily on our Discord, themortalrealms.com/Discord. You can find me under Eric there. Eric, Josh, and Vint, our names are in our tags. Come and find us and ping us if you have questions about building community. We will cheer you on as much as we can in the server.
Got resources.
Absolutely.
We'll share.
And if you have any questions or thoughts or corrections for us, please let us know other resources or other ideas that you think could help build community. And we'll get that on our next version of this in a couple of years.
Also, if you have pointers for me to help beat Josh, I'd appreciate it. Slide them into my messages, though. We don't need him seeing the plan before it happens. All right,
It's
guys.
your dice. Your
It's
dice.
the, it's the dice. Yeah.
Caradron Overlords. Caradron Overlords.
Yes. Shoot more. Ask questions later.
All right. It was wonderful
All right,
chatting
thanks,
with you guys.
guys.
We'll talk to everybody soon.
Yeah.
For
Thanks,
sure.
everyone.
Have a good night.
It's time to put a muzzle on this episode. If it was a good dog, support the show with a positive review on iTunes, sharing it with friends, joining us for hobby discussions at themortalrealms.com/discord, or leave a tip at themortalrealms.com/Patreon. More content is available at themortalrealms.com and on Twitter at Dogs of Warcry.
Welcome to the Midwest side, those ruthless narratively driven podcasts you'll ever fun ride. I'll be in fall. We get so far, dice roll in the swans, never solo, no smoke to the Dogs of Warcry.